But I guess it begs the question, what are you seeing right now with listings? Why are things sitting? Because he and I got into a debate last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying that price was more important right now. You were saying quality was, which that's needs a little bit more detail than that. But what was it that got us on that rant?
The biggest thing we got, and we're like, all right, who do we call? We ended up calling you to get the feedback on what is the real answer, because he was saying price was the thing. So just the lower price home that lists
and
is going to
listing
sell.
it right up front. You know what I mean? Like getting the right price up front.
But then we got in this debate of like, well, I don't think that's necessarily the case, because there are homes that are listed for more expensive than comparable homes in the neighborhood. They have to be quality homes. But if they're listed appropriately out of the gate, they're selling, and oftentimes with multiple offers. But then you have other homes that weren't listed appropriately out of the gate. They kept dropping. So now their price is sitting low, but it's like it has cancer. No one even wants to look at the house, and there's no rhyme or reason to it.
And I think we both agree time on market is the enemy. Like if we've seen, if it's on longer than anything else comparable, that really doesn't look good to his cancer point.
Yeah, for sure. It just depends. I mean, really, it's about value. You have to bring the most value to the market. So the way you can do that is bring a lower price, or bring more amenities, or bring more house to the market. So it just kind of depends. I mean, it's a balance. Two houses could list at the same price. Of course, the one with the best condition is going to be the one that sells first, right? Mm-hmm. So price is really important. We always say price war to the door, and then a beauty contest once you get in. And that's just, you have to have a compelling price. It's no longer like having a market price. It's you have to have a compelling price. You have to have a reason that when people are scrolling through those listings, they stop on that one and say, hey, this looks like a good value. Of course, the pictures have to look good. It has to be in good condition and move-in ready. But ultimately, if there's not a compelling price, they're not going to be interested in it in the first place. So once they get in, it's all about condition. You do have to go the extra mile on that.
So we've talked to several agents that say they have listings, and the listings are nice properties. They have continually checked pricing. Pricing is on point, but they've been sitting for weeks and weeks and weeks. And we talked to others that, like, I talked to somebody the other day, a realtor. It was actually Lisa Coccabella.
Yeah.
She says she listed several. I can't remember what she said, like 3 or 4 or 5 listings. And they all went under contract within 2 weeks, and all of them sold. But then other agents, that's not happening. But they're all saying that they're priced. Like, I don't understand what the magic is.
There's no rhyme to the reason with any of it. That's what we can't figure out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's magic, because it's just we're constantly tuning it. Like listings that we took a little bit longer ago, maybe we missed the mark a little bit, so we're having to make adjustments in both price and condition. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to say that I'm perfect with it, but it definitely, I think having the right price is very subjective. So when people say, hey, it's priced really well, if it's sitting on the market, that may not exactly be the case. How it is. Yeah, because houses that are priced really well go because buyers see the value. I mean, it's not that there aren't any buyers out there. It's just that they're not buying that house, and so it is price.
What I'm hearing you say, it's price, it's quality. You kind of have to have the best of both worlds to get listings sold in this market. But the magic behind it is you actually have to have an agent that knows what they're doing legitimately. So it all just kind of boils down to the professionalism and expertise of the realtor.
Yeah, I mean, it's why a lot of us realtors hire a good agent to represent us, especially if it's in another market. But even in this market, is because everyone's biased towards their own home. So if you look at your house, you always think it's a little bit better than it actually is. And that sellers are always going through that. They're always thinking that their home is worth more than all the others in the neighborhood. And it's not. It's probably worth slightly less in this market than the houses that have already sold. Mm-hmm. And so having that agent that's that unbiased person who comes in and says, hey, I get it. And you have a great home, but there's 5 other great homes within a half mile that other buyers are looking at, and we need to show more value. So you either need to do a lot of upgrades to your home and price it the same as the others so that yours is the one that sells, or you need to drop your price significantly so that it shows the value in today's market.
And so maybe back to our core argument, and it wasn't actually there, but you kind of brought it up. What is better, a higher quality home or a lower priced home? Like if in that scenario, there's 5 homes that are just like yours listed, so we got to do one of two things: we got to price under them, or we got to be superior in quality to them and price similar. What do you think? Is there a baseline right answer, or does it depend on the neighborhood?
I think it depends on the neighborhood, and it depends on the buyer, because some buyers are going to buy the nicer house. They're going to spend a little bit more to get the house that's move-in ready.
It's got the upgrades.
Yep. And some are going to buy a house that's more inexpensive so that they can go in and do some additional work on it. So I think either way you're set, the buyer who purchases it might be a little bit different. The one that wants to buy it at the lower price is probably looking at this house as an investment. They want to make sure that there's some room to grow the value over the years by doing upgrades and whatnot. And then the people who buy the nicer ones maybe aren't as handy, or, they just need something that's move-in ready. They don't want to have to mess with it for 5 or 10 years, just want to move their family in and be good.
Out of curiosity on that, sorry.
You're good. Go ahead.
As an agent negotiating on behalf of your sellers with both types of buyers, is there one that's better? I mean, obviously there's another agent on the other side, but is there one that proves to be more lucrative for your seller? Like, is it the fixer-upper buyer that's willing to, you get more bang for your buck as a seller, or is it the move-in ready buyer that tends to negotiate less?
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say the one that's going to have to do a lot of work on it is typically the one that's going to negotiate harder on it. That's because they say, hey, there's $8,000 in floors that need to be done. There's $5,000 or $8,000 in painting that needs to be done. There's all these repairs and whatnot. Like, they're kind of calculating them in their heads. So whatever repair they anticipate doing on the house, they're going to ding the seller for 5 or 10 times that amount. Let's say that you are going to have to do carpet in a house. That carpet might cost $7,000. They're going to want $50,000 off the price of the house because they're going to have to do that carpet. So
you're just having the conversations up front, like, okay, looking at us as a third party, this is what people could potentially call out. Let's just take care of it now. That way we can eliminate all of that later.
Yeah, because it may cost you $7,000 to put in the carpet. The buyer is going to want $40,000 for that.
So it sounds like the buyer, it sounds like it actually is preferential to just have a high quality, pretty looking turnkey house.
Yeah. If you're looking to make the most money, if any of us had a house today that we wanted to get sold that had a few projects, you will do better to have it in great shape today than you would to just lower the price. However, we have I just met with
These are the wrong answers, just so you know, but it's okay. I'll accept it. So I don't like to be wrong when I debate against him, but it's okay. I'll accept it this one time.
Well, I don't know that there's a better or a worse. It's just, we literally met with the seller yesterday that is just like, hey, I'm ready to go. Like, I need my house sold. We're like, we can clean it up. We send in cleaners. We help them get their house ready to go. Like, we could make it look pretty dang good as it is with just a couple weeks of prep. And he's like, I just need a cash offer. I just need to get going. Has his own circumstances. And so we're honest with our sellers that, hey, if you put a little bit of time and money into it, it would go a long way and we'll help you. But he's probably flushing $50,000 to $100,000 down the drain. And for him, that's worth it.
He just doesn't care.
And so we just give them really good advice, say, hey, here's kind of the options and we'll help you. We'll make it easy. But for some people, it's just, hey, they just need to go. They just want to go. They don't want to deal with it. And so
that's crazy. But to your point, it does make sense to be able to sell the turnkey house faster because there's way more buyers that are not handy.
Yeah.
Like, are you handy?
Not really.
I'm not handy. You're not handy. So 3 out of 3.
This door in this room, we've tried fixing 4 times, 5 times. It's a weekly occurrence, and we still can't get it fixed.
And this is a new building.
It's probably still got a warranty on it. We probably shouldn't be doing it ourselves.
Well, even the money too. Like, not everyone has a lot of cash to put into stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're the one that can do those upgrades and really, when it comes to condition, we talk about whatever the checklist is that the buyer's going to have to do when they buy it, when they move in. You're trying to take items off of that checklist. So it's just like, okay, I just buy the house and I just move into it. That's where you get the most money for sure.
Makes sense. So when do you start having the conversations if you've got the listing that's sitting on reducing price or doing something different? Like, is that, or is it a days on market thing? Is it a number of showings type thing in the first week? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, because it does seem like there is a point of no return.
Right.
If you don't get it sold fast enough, you're just basically host.
You're sitting there in the
Yeah,
abyss.
that's probably true.
For a hope and a prayer.
Yeah,
What
I've
does that
never
look
thought
like?
about it that way, but it's, I mean, the way that I've always been taught and the way that we do it is after 10 days, that's when we're really digging into the performance of the listing. So it's always been within 10 days, you need 10 showings and at least one offer. If you have that and there's some sign that you're going to get additional offers or you're going to be able to make it work with that offer, then you're probably okay. And then you're probably about to go under contract anyway, so it's not an issue. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have the showings or you don't have the offers, we're making adjustments. And we always say if you have the showings but you don't have the offers, then you're 3 to 5% overpriced. Oh, and if you don't have showings or offers, you're 7 to 10% overpriced. So it's a big, and in this market, we are being a slight bit more patient. You know, we're still keeping a really close eye on it. We are being a little more patient just because days on market are climbing. But one thing that we also look at is the true days on market. So when we see a house that sold with, say it sold 40 days or 50 days on the market is when it went under contract. We look at, but when was the last price reduction? Because that's the real days on market. So if it was listed at $750 and then they dropped their price to $715 and 2 days later it went under contract, it wasn't those.
It was on market for 2 days basically in your mind.
Yeah, it wasn't those 38 days that did it. It was those last two.
Right.
So it's like looking at days on market that way, I think it makes a big difference too. So yeah. So we're always looking at the comps and we're saying, okay, what did it take for that thing to sell? And typically it's a price adjustment.
So that's interesting. Two things. One, plug, which is, you should know this, but if you don't, if your sellers don't have the money to make the quality, we have a HELOC that will give them the money to make it quality. That closes really quick. So that's a good solution for people that are listening that may not, because not everybody, we run into so many people that basically all their wealth, everything they have is tied up into real estate or something untouchable, like an IRA or a 401k or something that they can't access. HELOCs are a good solution, but my question for you is, I think we believe, probably because we choose to believe, that financing incentives move the needle big in getting listings sold. Do you think that's true, or do you think it's not true? It certainly is true for builders. Are they just good at promoting it, or is it a legitimate thing? Like, what do you think the deal is there? Because, we got Sell Like the Builders.
Yeah.
Does that actually move the needle or not? And if not, why not? And why is it moving the needle for builders?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, it's mostly hypothetical because we haven't really needed to use it. And we've talked about it a little kind of recently. Yep. We should be using it. We need to jump on it. I think it would have a good effect in this market, but it's a little anecdotal. I think
why? Because you just haven't done it. You can't.
I just haven't done it. But one thing that I can say, and a reason why I think it would be really good in this market, is because a lot of buyers are unrepresented. And so I think you have a better ability. That's a little bit of a bigger subject, but we have a lot of unrepresented buyers in this market. And that gives the listing agent more opportunity to show that value to the buyer, where if they're represented by another agent, they've got their own lender stuff. They don't want to be looking at lender incentives because they don't want to make it more complicated and whatnot. Yeah, so we can't count on those buyer's agents to pass the word along that there's these incentives or that there's a good opportunity for the buyer. But when we have unrepresented buyers, which we have quite a few out there right now, we could probably do a better job today of showing the value of that and actually.
So you have more influence basically on buyers. Yeah. So is it just because builders have such a significant why is it that we're doing the same? We're enabling resale sellers to offer the same exact incentive that all these builders are offering, and these builders are selling a bunch of.
They're doing a lot more of it than we are.
Doing the same, virtually the same type of incentive. Why is it so effective with them? And do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that the builder has a certain process. So they're 100% sold on it, and they have direct communication usually with the buyer, which listing agents do not.
Right.
And so when you walk into that model home, I mean, depending on who the agent is, some of us are a little more overbearing or a little less in that model home.
Right.
But that agent for the builder tends to kind of take over the conversation, and they're just introducing all of this stuff to the buyer directly. Whereas a listing agent is typically not in a place to do that. At an open house, yes. On flyers and stuff like that, we can have the conversation. We can get
just
that
not as much in their
information.
face.
It's just a little bit different. So, but I think it's something we should take advantage of.
So why are there more unrepresented buyers?
Yeah, and I don't have the numbers behind it. I don't know how well it's really tracked, to be honest. I don't know where I would find them. I guess there's one way I could run it, but just through all of the sales that we're doing and other people at our office, there's a lot of unrepresented buyers, and I think it's just because we have our houses on the market for a little bit longer, so we get more sign calls, we get more people calling us from, advertisements online, from social media that are reaching out to us directly. Whereas in a hot market, we don't have a lot of time to market the houses. And so we don't bring in as many buyers from the marketing that we do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's really all MLS marketing, which
Yeah.
only agents have access to.
Yeah, the buyers are already represented because in a hot market, only the most serious buyers are buying houses because they're the only ones that can. If the market's super white hot, only the most serious buyers can actually get a contract accepted, and they all have agents. If they're seriously looking to purchase a home, they have to have an agent, right? That's where they're going to be. And so, but in this market, we've seen things slow down. People are taking a little bit longer to think about it. So we do.
So do you think these buyers are more looky-loos and wasting your time, or do you just think they don't have the urgency, so they're not reaching out to an agent and they're doing it more passively?
I think it probably starts more as looky-loos, or they're just casually looking, and that's where our follow-up comes into play. So that's why we've been closing a lot of them, is because we have a pretty good follow-up system. And so we talk to them every week, and we say, hey, let's get together, let's chat about it. We show them the process. We say, hey, this is what we get them connected to a great lender, of course. We say, hey, this is what it's going to look like to buy that home. This is what the numbers are. And then we help them write the offer. But that process can take weeks. And in a super white hot market, the house isn't available 2 weeks later. So
that's crazy.
So then we pick them up as a buyer client, and now they're represented by an agent, and we go help them buy something else. But they're no longer an unrepresented buyer, if that makes sense. So.
The crazy thing is that it just hit me is like that is, and maybe it's more obvious to realtors behind closed doors than I think it is, but to me, with all the realtors that we talk to, that seems like a huge missed opportunity in this market where you could just seriously increase your database and market share just by being willing to be present for those buyers. Are people, I mean, it doesn't seem to me like agents are taking advantage of that, because all I hear...
market your listing in different ways. Market around your listing more, farm a little bit more, like...
Right.
Before you didn't have the opportunity to do it.
Well, and all we hear right now is, I don't have any buyers. I can't find any buyers. But what you're saying is they're all over.
Yeah, they really are.
People just they don't have their net out, or what is the deal?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak to what I see every day, which is like agents, they'll call their leads, they'll call their unrepresented buyers that call on their signs or whatever, and they say, oh, I don't know, I'm not quite ready yet, I'm not super interested. And if they can't get a yes within the first or second call, they never call them again. I mean, I have quite a bit of evidence to support that.
Right, yeah, you have coached so many agents.
Yeah, like I have a pretty good amount of evidence to support it. So that's where, I mean, it's no different. I mean, you could call out of the phone book and probably run into a lot of like if you followed up enough, you would find those buyers out there. So it's just a matter of follow-up. Some people are better at it than others, but there are a lot of semi-motivated buyers out there that we can turn into highly motivated buyers if we have the right conversations and follow-up.
Yeah, that's huge. So if there is a seller listening to this, or if there's a realtor thinking, man, how do I up my game on getting these listings sold like you're talking about? I guess the seller what is it that a seller should be considering when talking to agents to identify a high quality agent that they're not going to look, 30 or 40 days into the listing and be like, crap, we don't have any offers, things aren't selling. Like, how can a seller identify that an agent actually knows what they're doing? Because it kind of seems like they all know what they're doing when you meet with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, talking to them about their experiences, seeing what they're seeing in the market, talking to the agents about what they're seeing in today's market, you can usually tell. Maybe it's just because I've talked to a lot of realtors, but based on their responses, you'll probably be able to tell if they are serious about this business or not. And there's just a mix. Everyone has their own expertise and whatnot. But I think if you talk to someone, they'll either have stories and they'll be able to tell you what's going on in the market. Oh, yeah, we have this seller that's doing this, worked really well, or this seller, it didn't work that well, so we're making tweaks. So I think you could probably tell if they're if they're talking about things that are actually going on in the market, you could probably have a pretty good idea. If they're just spouting off stats about the market that are sent out by the Salt Lake Board of Realtors or something like that, that's not that's not going to give you quite as much confidence as others. So I think that goes back to like stories sell, right? So,
right.
So the more expertise they have, the more things that they've seen, obviously finding out what their plan is, because I would say most agents don't really have a plan going into it. So I think sellers really like, and I think should like, this is stuff they should be looking for, but they should be looking for someone who has a plan, who says, hey, here's what we're going to go in with. We're listing at this price. We're going to have the house set up at this condition, and then we're going to see what the results are. We're going to recalibrate and make adjustments if needed, and kind of laying out the 10-day price adjustment and figuring out, okay, how are we going to tweak this as we go? I think that's really important because we're not going to nail it every time. So it's got to be someone who has a plan for how we're going to do this.
Because then it's an unemotional decision, and that's where so many of these are getting. Because it's funny, you said if they drop that 750 house to 715 and it sells, it was actually on the market for 2 days. Yeah. But maybe had they listed it appropriately in the beginning at 725, it might have sold.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have had to go down to 715 because they got a discount for it being on the market for 35 days prior to that. And so that is, I mean, in our industry, so many things, all the conversations are very emotional.
Yeah.
With our clients, because there's so much emotion tied to the money and the move and the stress of it all. So how do you navigate those conversations? Because I'm certain that you run into buyers that are like, no, my home is worth this amount, and you have to like gracefully get through this conversation and like basically say, no, it isn't. And also, if you do that, you're going to be hating life because you're probably going to lose 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 bucks.
Yeah,
because
you're not selling the home for 97% of what it's worth. You're selling it for 80% at that point.
Right, because it gets way more extreme of a discount the longer the
point of no
home's
return that we
listed.
talked about earlier.
Right. Mm-hmm. So how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I think it's most important to let them know that you're on their team. I don't think everyone assumes that. They don't always assume that about real estate agents. So just to know that, anytime that there's regardless, whether it's price or something else, whenever it feels like you're butting heads a little bit and it's me versus you, I always take that. And whatever the issue is, I kind of table that and I say, hey, we need to take a step back. Like, I need to remind you, like, I'm 100% on your team, and just review what their needs are. You told me how important it was to get this place sold, not just so you could cash out, but so that you could go do this, so you could take your family here, so you could go get this big job somewhere else. And so I kind of step back and say, hey, you told me you were really motivated, and I'm 100% on your team, and I want to make you the most money possible. So remember, when I'm giving you this information, it's because I care about you. It's because I want you to have the most successful outcome possible. I think that's the biggest thing, is just to remind them that you're on their team. That makes the biggest difference.
I like it. So what do you think is most important right now to sellers? Is it a top dollar thing or is it a timing thing? Because you go back to the COVID market, it was both, right? They knew that they could get top dollar and they knew it'd sell in 2 weeks regardless. Then I think 2022, once rates started going up, they were more willing to have longer contract deadlines or have it be on the market as long as they're getting top dollar.
Yeah.
Now what I'm seeing is a little bit of like, let's just get it sold. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
Yeah, it takes me back to a class that you guys did not a few months back, but you said that sellers, what they're primarily looking for is certainty. Mm-hmm. So that still sticks out to me today, and that it really is what they're looking for today, because the amount of contracts that are falling out is pretty high too. You know, when it's harder to put deals together, it's easier for them to fall out. That's just how it is. And so them having certainty around the fact that the deal is actually going to close really is the biggest thing. And that goes mostly to timeline, you know, given the choice between the two. It goes mostly to timeline, but you need someone who's, if someone comes in and says, hey, I'm going to pay cash for this, I'm going to close in 2 weeks, that speaks huge volumes to sellers today. You know, that is worth a lot. Where in the COVID years, if you remember, when they'd get a cash offer that was pretty good, but they had financed offers that were better, they would still choose those financed offers because it was, well, it's all cash at the end. You know, at the end of the day, I'm going to get cashed out, so I don't care how they pay for it.
We'll just put the cash in backup position.
Yeah, yeah. But now it's a little different because there's just so many hurdles that we have to jump through that someone who's ready to go, who's got a conventional loan, who's ready to go or has cash and they're willing to do short deadlines, be really serious about it, those offers are given priority for sure.
So those are given priority for sure. Do you think there's legitimate like material negotiating power in that? Like say our buyers go out and they're like, it's a 10-day close, they have a 2-day due diligence or whatever, like they really shrink it down.
Yeah.
Do you think they can hammer down pretty hard on the price?
Oh, for sure.
Concessions?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we're doing with our buyers right now. We like to do a lot of the underwriting and stuff up front, collect more than we need in documents. That way we can enable them to make the strongest offer, even if that's not important to the sellers in terms of deadlines, but knowing that they're that serious, I think speaks volume. Yeah.
Oh, it makes a huge difference. And you can see by the opposite of that to me is a buyer that has a home to sell that's not even on the market yet. They almost don't have a prayer in the world to get a house under contract in today's market, to be honest. You know, if
sellers aren't desperate enough to take any offer.
Yeah. Well, and sellers are saying, geez, it was this hard to sell my house and I have control over it.
They see the writing on the wall.
And then how hard is it going to be for you to sell yours, you know? Yeah. And so it's like, those are the ones that are having the hardest time. Which is kind of the opposite of a really well-qualified conventional or a cash buyer. You know, that's on the easy side. On the opposite side is these contingent buyers. And that's where I think, you know, the bridge and bridge loan alternatives, I love that. I mean, we've talked about it a lot over the years, but I love that because anything you can do to free them up to be able to get their contracts accepted, because if they come in with a house to sell, you're talking about their negotiating power. They come in with a house to sell, they have no negotiating power. Even if the house has been on the market for 90 days, that seller doesn't want to drop their, you know, drop down their price a lot for this one contract that might close because they have a house to sell. They'd rather just drop the price and bring in a drove of new buyers and then get it. So if they're going to sell it at that
create
price,
that certainty. Yeah.
They'd rather have, you know, they'd rather lower the price for everyone in the market and open it up. So, yeah. So I would say people who have a certain deal, whatever that looks like, if they're dead set on, if they're ready to go on the house, they are prepared to move quickly and make it happen, put down good earnest money, have quick turnaround times, they for sure have the most negotiating power.
And the crazy thing is that negotiating power, I mean, I got in the business in 2009. You did about the same time, right?
No, I'm at 14.
So a little ways after. But in my career, this is the most negotiating power I've seen buyers have. And it's like, one, sellers are not listing at the tip top of the market, which is interesting. Does that mean home prices are coming down? The data I'm looking at, that's not the case. Like we do our little monthly thing.
Yeah.
And the median list and sold price has gone up like 1% per month every month for the past every month we've done it, which has been like 4 or 5 months now.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit weird. I don't understand how that's not correlating.
Yeah, I guess it depends. Like our price is going down right now. We don't necessarily know. I mean, it depends on the area for one. We see really different areas. And I could like give some examples. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's very different from area to area. But we don't really know. I mean, you have to kind of know the future to know whether prices are going down, right? Month over month, I've not really seen it, but it's a little bit hard to know. But if you look back to, if you look in certain areas, like I'm hesitant to say a certain area, but especially areas where there's a lot of new construction and they have tons of units available. There's areas like that where I would say prices have dropped, but that wasn't over the last couple months.
Right.
It's been over the last 3 years that we've seen prices come down.
And a lot of those buyers got smoked.
They really did.
Yeah.
Those are my sellers today.
Which
Those are
Yeah,
those people.
That's a tough place.
Especially when they've bought condos and townhomes, they're expecting to be in them for 2 to 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they're 3 years into it and they're underwater. And
Well, especially when they bought new construction, then phase 1, and it's phase 4, and they're now competing directly with the builder.
Yeah. So those are the areas that I see hit the hardest. Salt Lake as a whole seems really healthy. I mean, when you look at the numbers, macro numbers looks pretty good. That we've been pretty flat or slowly climbing, but we'll see. We'll see how it all looks. There's definitely more pressure on prices, but builders, they're not jumping to drop their prices. They'll do anything they can before doing that. Concessions. I mean, you
advertise 4.99 rates.
Yeah. So they're doing everything they can because they don't want to drop those prices. But even those builders have already dropped prices over the last 3 years. A lot of them. So
Yeah, we've seen that too, which is sad.
yeah,
It is sad seeing those because commonly it's first-time home buyers,
yeah,
and that's a bad experience.
it
You're
is
trying to sell and your first home ownership experience is
yeah,
underwater. But TJ did a video the other day of becoming an accidental landlord, and the reality is, like, we say this time and time again, but real estate, you basically can never lose money in real estate as long as you can be patient with time.
yeah,
Because real estate I don't think there's a single 10-year period ever in history that hasn't resulted in significant returns
yeah,
on real estate, and I think like this market underscores this. It's so crazy because there is a lack of buyers, and there are creative solutions to getting a mortgage that you can afford. Lots of people don't think it. I think the only ones that were willing to agree with that concept have almost all already bought. And there's so many people on the sidelines getting really missing the opportunity, because if you have these concessions, like I was saying a moment ago, they're listing low, so they're probably listing several percent below what they otherwise could. And so in Utah, that's tens of thousands of dollars that you're saving immediately. And then you can get the concessions from the seller. That's generally another tens of thousands of dollars. So you're coming out ahead 20, 30, 40, 50,000 bucks pretty consistently right now. And you fast forward 5 years from now, my belief is at some point in that timeline, we see rates come down, and we've never had so much pent-up demand. I mean, we are at the lowest levels of home sales that we've seen in 30 or 40 years, and our population from 30 and 40 years ago is millions and millions and millions more people, yet we're closing fewer transactions than we were like in the 90s. Yeah. That is, like, I feel like there's another COVID era thing, but then you see people that, like, there was actually a guy on social media today saying, like, or commenting on one of our posts, and risk of, and you hear this all the time, risk of the market actually coming down and people losing money. I'm like, I don't see that happening. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to what you said. Like, what we always do is look at that time horizon. If you extend the time horizon out 5, 10, 20 years, for sure, no one's losing money.
And they're making outrageous amounts.
Yeah, they're making a huge amount of money. So it just depends on the time horizon, because I can say from experience that over 1 or 2 years, you can have a bad run, which, I don't think that many people realize how bad we got hit in 2022. I think that was because, here in Salt Lake, because the first half was so hot of 2022, and then it kind of flipped on a dime. So it peaked out. All my numbers say it peaked in May, and then from the rest of the year, like a lot of areas, and Salt Lake specifically was somewhere around 13% that we dropped.
Wow.
Like, that's a lot. Now, we had climbed so much the first half of the year.
You're talking peak to trough during that calendar year.
Yeah. Well, in the second half of the calendar year.
Holy cow. Wow.
Yeah. So, and it depends on which area and how you run the numbers, but I've seen anything between 12 and 15.
Wow.
And so but then the numbers don't show that, because they show year over year, and it was fine. It kind of averaged out, but you can see that things adjusted quite a bit. So at the end of 2021, that price was pretty similar to what the price was at the end of 2022, but that was because it had experienced this huge climb and then this huge drop. So I think that's not gonna show on the history books as much, but it was a huge adjustment, So our market.
So there's a few unlucky buyers.
Yeah, and but from one year to the next, I mean, that's the worst when we see people that bought right then. We're like, oh, they need a couple extra years to cook before they can sell their
But
house.
the reality is, it's like those are conversations the professionals, again, if there are people listening to this, does your home and auto insurance seem to go up every year without fail? Mine did too. I thought this was just the way the insurance industry worked until I found my friend Alan Johnson with American Family Insurance. After more than 15 years with the same insurance agent, he saved me over $3,000 per year when I switched. I refer all my family, friends, and clients to him, and their experience is similar. Great rates and a great experience. Call Alan for a free quote today at 801-708-2962. That is where you can identify a legitimate professional, is if they're making you aware of these potential risks and the strategies to avoid them. Because if you're not planning for it, it does feel like a complete loss, and it feels like you got stung, and housing as an investment sucks.
Yeah.
But if you are going in mentally prepared for that, you can't lose.
Like any investment, though.
Right, for sure. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes people just don't look at the creative solutions around real estate. But what we've noticed, and all the research we've done, I'm curious if you have seen the same thing, is like anytime that happens, there's always an outsized rebound on prices. So if you see a depression on prices at some point over a period of time, there's an outsized rebound shortly thereafter, and you make way more than the national average, appreciation rates.
Yeah.
So do you think what I said, that in the next 5 years we see, what is your belief? My belief is we see like a COVID level boom in real estate because there's so much pent up demand, and it's just like, I don't know how another result could happen. I'm curious if you have.
Well, when you were saying that, it reminded me of a quote. Well, it's an affirmation that I say every morning with my team. We say, opportunities always present themselves to me. And so I think it's really a mindset. Like, people always see the fear and the scarcity and the problems, and they fail to see the opportunities a lot of times. So that just was ringing really loudly in my head when you were saying that. But because there are opportunities, as far as I'm probably different than you, but
I know, I want to hear it. You don't need to be worried about saying something different.
We'll fight it out right now, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. I just have kind of gotten out of the forecasting business. I don't know that I was.
Let's not do a forecast. This is not.
Yeah.
What do you think?
What do I think is going to happen?
Like, let's say the next 5 years.
Yeah, over the next 5 years, I think we'll see a huge jump in property values.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah.
So we're the same there.
Yeah.
So
the thing that COVID leveled, I mean, that's a little extreme. I mean, I almost hope we don't see that.
Yeah.
Because slow and steady, I think that's the best thing about the real estate market, is that it's a slow, steady gain over the years. But then at times it's been very fast, a very quick moving gain.
Yeah.
And it is interesting you say that, because I am starting to change my own mind. And I had a conversation with a client earlier this week about that, which was, I thought it would kind of be a sharp, kind of violent shift, because I thought we'd hit a recession, and I thought rates would just tank. And maybe that still could happen, but I think the likelihood of that happening is probably dwindling a little bit now. But the crazy thing is, we're seeing so many of our clients, past clients database, that do have the 2% and 3% mortgage rates. And for too many reasons than we could ever name, they're deciding to just let those go and make transitions. And people are swallowing the pill of these rates where they are, and they're almost just like, this whole idea of timing the market has almost kind of starting to eliminate out of people's minds. So maybe you're right that it is a little bit more slow and steady, and troughs of people start coming into the market for various reasons, and there isn't like a violent pop.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly hope so, because if we were to see a violent change like that, an extreme adjustment in the market, of course, you're the mortgage guy, but what's going to happen to interest rates if that happens? All of a sudden, things are probably going to come right back to where they are. So we would take a little relief on the rate side. I'm not saying we shouldn't take a little bit of relief on that side, but I mean, that's the whole thing, is it was unsustainable. The level of growth was unsustainable, and really made real estate a slightly more volatile investment for a little bit. And I don't know if that was as healthy for the market.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, not for those that bought in the first half of 22. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
But, you know, it's always been, I mean, I'm sure you guys have clients that you've talked to that you've said they shouldn't buy a house. Like, people who are not planning on staying there long term should not be buying real estate, I don't think, unless they're super comfortable with hanging on to it.
Exactly.
So, but 1 to 2 years is not a very long time horizon, especially if you're buying a home in this market. In this area, we have done a lot of low or zero down payment options for first-time home buyers, right? That's always been a thing with Utah housing and whatnot. So there's a lot of that out there. Let's say you're into it maybe 0% or 3.5% down, something like that. You have to have several years of growth before you can break even on that investment.
Well, on those loans, they walk in upside down.
Yeah. So
Day one, regardless of what the market does.
They walk in upside down, and then, of course, those big bad realtors come
you guys
in,
are
and we
criminals.
charge fees, and there's closing costs and all that stuff, right? And so we you know, it takes them several years. Like on average, it's going to take them several years before they break even. So that part's not really unique. It's just that but sometimes there's a few years that are even worse, and you have to just wait it out.
And I do not like when realtors say, I don't like what you said, that if the people shouldn't buy a house because they're only going to be there 1 or 2 years, because as long as you swallow the pill to own the house longer term, you're going to make a bunch of money. So if you have money to invest somewhere, why in the world would you just not invest it in real estate if you don't own real estate now?
Yeah, which I did make that caveat.
Yes.
To be fair. And also,
But I just wanted to make the caveat ultra clear. I wanted to highlight it.
And I would say that, I mean, one thing that I could for sure admit is a concept that you taught me a long time ago when I bought my most recent house. But I've been in it for 8 years, something like that. And at that time, I bought a house way less than what I could afford, like substantially less. And you told me you want to own more real estate. Like, you're not trying to get the best bargain. You need to own a lot of real estate. So you either need to buy a lot more expensive house or you need to buy 3 of them. And I didn't take your advice that well. And now I regret it. Like, I look
Don't
back,
tell
I'm
me
like,
right.
I know.
right.
It always hurts. It
I
always
just won't
hurts.
be able to
but-
get out of the office here for a few hours. I'll have to let it deflate a little bit.
But yeah, to your point, people should own more real estate. And so, even if they were only going to stay there for a year or two, I do think having them make that purchase and then continuing to hang on to it long term.
As long as you communicate about what the exit routes
So Brock,
are.
why is that your belief? Because you've taught me the same thing, and then I pass on to clients. But why do you think that you should own the most amount of real estate you can afford?
Well, I mean, we look at it. We've run these numbers 1,000 times, and it's like the basis of almost everything we post on social media, which is if you look at the return on investment and then capitalize on the tax benefits, and then if it becomes an investment property, you have other tax benefits like depreciation and things, but that makes it even better. But if you look just strictly at cash on cash return on investment, you own an asset worth, X amount, and you only invest, let's just say 5% of that asset, but you get the return on the whole 100% of the asset. There's not another investment in the world that you can do that except for high risk, like trading on margin and things, which takes skill sets that none of us have, and it's basically legalized gambling. This is not that way. It's very
This is what created the holistic mortgage philosophy, the
100%.
leverage, maximize wealth, mitigate risk. That's what started this.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think people should read the book because I think our concept is 100%. Like, I encourage people, which is why I wanted you on here, and you're being way too gracious about like not arguing, because I want you to argue with me a little bit and like kind of test the boundaries on what we think, because we're so bought into our ideas and we talk about it constantly. And I'd recommend anybody listening, like, I would love nothing more than somebody to come on the show and argue with, or maybe argue's the wrong word, but debate our beliefs and our strategies, because I think they are foolproof. And as long as you go in eyes wide open, which is why you need a realtor like you who's going to say, I have a plan. If we don't see this, it's an unemotional thing. I'm not going to call and ask how you feel that day. If it's 10 days and we don't have any offers or we don't have any showings, we got to drop the price 10%. It's just as easy as that. Same with us. If you go in eyes wide open, you have the strategy, you have the plan. It's a fully sound, well-rounded, holistic plan. You can't go wrong. So and the crappy thing is it's a low barrier to entry, which is why so many people have a negative outlook on real estate commonly, is because they get led down a path by somebody who is not qualified to lead them down the path. Yeah. And oftentimes don't even own real estate themselves, and certainly don't have any balance sheet to be guiding them on wealth creation. Like, I mean, hell, I'd say just ask your loan officer for their personal financial statement and see if they're broke or not, and then decide how to trust them, you know, like, and the realtor for that matter. Because like those that can legitimately guide are actually pretty loaded. Like they've made the decisions, they've lived what they're saying, and they have money to prove for it. And that's what it is. You know, I mean, life isn't all about money, but when you're making decisions that are about that,
around money, you better consult the best.
Yeah, it's the bigger pile theory, right? You need to work with the people that are richer than you, and get guidance from them. You know, we all do the same thing.
Totally. Yeah, I think of our job as it's very much the same as any financial advisor that you'd have, in the sense that like as things change, as things go, maybe they've got all their money in this investment or that investment, and then the market turns and they lose a bunch of money in that investment. Their job is to call them and say, hey, I know you're scared. I know there's changes going on in your portfolio, but you only get hurt on a roller coaster if you jump off in the middle. You're going to stay the course.
I've never heard that.
That's Dave Ramsey, but
that's all right. We like it. We just don't like that he says pay your house off.
Yeah, can I say Dave Ramsey? But you only get hurt on a roller coaster if you jump off in the middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick to the plan. You know, this is why we set it up this way. This is why you're invested this way. You've still got another 20, 30 years to do what we need to do. And so they're taking the emotion out of it and saying, hey, remember why we started this? This was the plan. This is what we expected. You know, nothing has really gone a different way than what we expected. I mean, year to year, yes.
Right.
But 5, 10, 20 years, it's just a very steady trend up for real estate. And so we have to be that person. It's the same thing when we're negotiating something on a contract that we have. You know, the seller says, "Oh, geez, you know, I don't want to replace the water heater. If they're not going to buy it without us replacing the water heater, then I'm not selling it to them." You know, and then it's like, wait. When you told me how important it was to sell this house and what that meant for you and your family, don't you think you guys deserve that? And are we going to let a $1,500 water heater get in the way of that? I've got a plumber. He's going to be here in a couple days. He'll take care of the whole thing, and then we'll get you moved to XYZ, you know, in a couple weeks. Like being that calming force that says, hey, I get it. It's emotional. We take things personal, but to really strip that emotion out of it and remind them what the plan is.
Look at the end goal.
Yeah, that
and
goes a
really
long
underscores
way.
the value of a realtor. Like you need that buffer.
Yeah,
because then you can just like I mean, I love having professionals in my corner, like whether they're lawyers or realtors or whatever, because I can just call and I just freak out like a toddler and be so upset about it, and they'll help me like just purge the emotion. Yeah, then we can make more logical decisions, you know, and that's like that's invaluable for sure, because you could just screw things up based on the emotions. Well, that's really good. We should come out and talk about another one soon, and whether you want to be a part of it or not. But this just came to mind. I think this is going on too long. We can't go into another topic. But talking about the upside opportunity in Utah based on the growth that is coming, which we talked a lot about a few years ago during COVID, and then it's kind of been numbed. But you've got the inland port, you have the point. You have all this massive, massive, massive growth, and it's even getting bigger and bigger. Yeah. I'm hearing new things. Real estate in Utah is, I think, a very special and unique opportunity. Yeah. And people, you know, unfortunately will probably miss that opportunity if they're not paying attention now. They don't have the people like us guiding them. Yeah. Not dealing with the stupid emotional decisions that most of the people are kind of making right now. But
it's a good point, though, because it has been kind of blunted. A lot of that stuff has been blunted a little bit by the market, but those companies did not change gears. You know, Facebook wasn't Facebook. I mean, I'm not saying they didn't change gears, but Facebook, Tyson Foods, all the tech companies,
all
I mean, you just can go down the whole list. Like those are still huge companies. They still have huge needs in both real estate, in their developments that they're putting up for their servers and all that stuff going out there, and also in, you know, employment. They need a lot of employees and whatnot. They are growing,
and we're just getting started.
Huge. Yeah.
So that should be another episode that we should do next.
Yeah, what a plug for the next one.
Yeah,
I like it.
That'll be really good.
I like it.
So cool.
Sweet. Well, as a reminder, guys, if you could, please like, follow, subscribe, comment, do all the things that you do on social media. We appreciate it. And Nick, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool.
Thank you for tuning in. For more industry insights, follow us on all platforms at Loans Elevated.
And to get in touch with our team, call or text 801-713-4000 or visit loanselevated.com.